Welcome you all, dear students. In last class we discussed stress strain curve and the different stress strain curve for different materials also. I gave you few homework, and in this class we are introduced by some terms, somewhat very important terms that I am going to explain here. The one is allowable working stress and factor of safety. Allowable working stress and factor of safety. See here, some lines are there here. The most suitable strength criteria for any structural element under service conditions is that some maximum stress must not be exceeded such that plastic deformation do not occur. Okay, first we'll understand this meaning. What it says is most suitable strength criteria. Strength criteria, strengths when you check. Strength means whether when you pull it, when you bend it, when you twist it, okay, means there are many criteria are there to check the strength, okay, but most suitable strength criteria for any structural element out of those many methods, which is the most suitable, that is under service conditions. Service conditions means practical conditions. See, one building is there here, one beam is there, and on that beam you are applying some load, and this is under service. Okay, here people are going, coming, that everything is working. Service condition is that some maximum stress must not exceed such that plastic deformation do not occur. See, whenever you apply some load to the material, say this is a beam, I apply some load here and it will deform like this. When I remove this load, then it should come back to the original position. Such that in that way I need to apply the loads. I should not apply more than that. In the last class even I shown you one figure, one example on demo. So let us consider if it is a beam, then the service load must be such that, the service load means whatever the load you are applying on that must be such that there should not occur any plastic deformation. Plastic deformation means what? Permanent deformation. When you apply some load, see, this is a plastic deformation. It is bent. It will not come to the original position. Like that, if it is a beam and I am applying some load here, then it become a plastic deformation. Understood? Means for any material, I should not apply a deformation such that there should not occur any plastic. I should not apply. I should apply a load such that there should not occur any plastic deformation. In that way, I need to select the loads. Okay, now this value is generally known as a maximum allowable working stress. Then that value is a maximum allowable working stress. Okay, now for example, if this is a beam, when I apply one load, then it will bend like this. When I remove this one load, it will come back to the original position. When I apply two load, same bends. Two load removed, then come to the original position. Like that, 2, 3, 4, 5. When I apply the sixth load, then it will bend like this. When I remove this sixth load, it will not come back. Then this load, previous load, I can call it as a maximum allowable working load or working stress. Maximum allowable means 6 is not allowed. Why? Because when I apply 6 load, it will deform and it will not come back to the original position after removing. Therefore, 5 is a maximum working stress. Because of uncertainties of loading conditions, design procedure, production methods, etc., it is common practice to introduce factor of safety into structural designs. This is defined as, okay, leave it. There are many uncertainties will take place when you design. For example, one comedy type example I will give you. Let us consider you are that one design. You are asked to design one home, okay, and you designed this one. In this building, in the top floor, let us consider 10 people are there. 10 people stay in the home. Okay, then you consider 10 people's load and you will design the building. You will design thinking that if all 10 people are present on the home or in the slab, then the slab will not collapse. Okay, now there are 10 people, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people's If they stand on the beam or otherwise on the slab, then it will not collapse. For that reason you designed this column and the load beam. Okay na? What happens in fair time or in festival, in marriage function, okay, in some uncertainties will take place and many people will come to your home, your birthdays or otherwise someone dead or otherwise like some many functions, many people will come to your home and they all stand on the slab, particular slab. Then it should not collapse. It should not collapse. Means these are considered as, these are functions or otherwise those are considered as uncertainties. Sometimes even that uncertainty may happen in design procedure also. In design procedure, sometimes you may ignore some type of load. The foundation may be weak, soil may be weak, the column may settle, but you might ignore this one. You forgotten this and designed like that, or otherwise some procedure may be different. Some uncertainties may happen in the design procedures and some production methods. You asked a good quality of concrete from the ready mix concrete. Ready mix one truck will come, no, that ready mix concrete they will bring, okay, and a good quality you asked that, and when it comes and when you are putting a slab, then continuously rain may come. The rain happens, then the water from the rain and this concrete that mixes and the strength may get reduced. These are production methods. And in steel production also some wrong may happen and there is some mistake in the steel manufacturing also. Therefore such things may happen in live conditions. Therefore we should consider always factor of safety. Factor of safety means more than that. Best example for factor of safety is meaning of factor of safety, you just ask your mother. Mother will tell you the meaning of factor of safety. How? Let us today only you do this experiment and you will come to know. You tell to your mother saying that, Mom, today I am calling 4 of my friends for the lunch or dinner. Okay, 4 of my friends are coming for the lunch or dinner. You just tell to your mom, and mom starts preparing for 4 of the friends, and 1 is you and 1 is a father and someone sister, and total, and that mother also, and mother will think that 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 members will come in the lunch and 8 members will eat, but mother will not prepare for 8 members. Mother will prepare for 10 members or 12 members. She will always prepare more food than the required. Why? She will again think the uncertainties. If 4 friends comes and someone may enter inside, some relative may come, some neighbor may come, some beggar may come, something may happen. Therefore she always prepare for more than the demand. More than the demand. This is called as a factor of safety. Means if a service load, if a 500 kilonewton, if you are applying 500 kilonewton load, okay, then you should think that not 500, I will design for 750, I will design for 1000. Like that you need to increase the load and you need to design. Okay, na? Therefore that is called as factor of safety. That factor of safety is defined like this: yield stress or proof stress divided by allowable working stress. This formula you just remember. Coming to one more term, very important term, that is a ductile material, and the opposite word is a brittle material. There are 2 types of materials we observe in steel or otherwise in metal materials. The one is a ductile material and the brittle material. The capacity of a material to allow large extension means the material has a capacity. When you apply the load, it will extend more, large amount of extend. Okay, that is ability to drawn out plastically. Okay, that as a material has a ability. Okay, when you pull it, it will extend its length. Is a termed as a ductility. See, breaking has not took place. Okay, the material is stretched. When you stretch it, it will extend, but extension is going on, but it is not broken. Then that property is called as the ductility. Then the quantitative value of the ductility is obtained by the measurement of percentage of elongation or percentage of reduction in the area as defined. That how to measure this ductility? That ductility can be measured in terms of percentage of elongation. Elongation when you pull the material, and percentage of reduction. Percentage of reduction. Reduction in what? Reduction in area. When you pull the material, there will be reduction in the area, that percent. These two terms are very important to understand whether the material is ductile or brittle. Ductile. That is more ductile or less ductile, that you will come to. That formula is increase in gauge length to fracture divided by original gauge length. Gauge length means in a virtual lab you have seen that one. See, 1, 2, 3, 4 dots were there. This is called as a gauge length. When you increase the load, then this gauge length this point may shift here, then gauge length is increased, that you are writing here. And cross sectional area, that cross sectional area also reduces, that you are writing here, comparing with the original cross sectional area. Then you will get what you will get? You will get a percentage elongation and a percentage of reduction in area. Okay. Here one note is given here, you can see. The note is the property closely related to ductility is a malleability, which defines as a material's ability to be hammered out into thin sheets. Malleability thus represents the ability of a material to allow permanent extension in all lateral direction under compressive loading. Here we will get two types of names again. One is a confusing names, they are. One is a malleability. Here it is malleability, and the second one is a ductility. But both refers the same nature. Nature is same. Say for example, I have one coin here, or I have one wire here. Just let us consider wire here. This one. I will pull this one. When I pull this, then this wire will extend its length. See, means the wire is a ductile material. The wire is ductile material. The nature is what? It is elongated, it is extended without break. Right? Now, I will take one piece of coin here, and I will take one hammer. And I will hit this coin. Continuously, if I hit this coin, then when I hit it, it will extend its area. So again, the length and every parameters are extended. It is extended, but it becomes a very thin sheet. Don't worry, but it is extending its length. Here also the same property is coming. Extension is there, but no failure. Here also extension is there, but no failure. But the difference between here is tensile force is applied and extended, and here compressive force is applied and extended. Therefore, when you compressive force you apply and extend, that is called as malleability. Then when you tension force is applied and this one, that is called as ductility. Best example, again your mother will tell you what is the malleability and what is ductility. Okay, see, when they do samosa, okay, they will take some amount of wheat that flour mixed with the water and all some one mass they will get. That mass they will hold it at one hand and they will stretch it like this, and they will make one thin sheet. In that sheet they will put that aloo and all, and they will press it. Means here they are pulling it. And making the bigger size. Means that is again they are pulling it without break. And the same atta, that same ground floor, that small ball of floor, they will take it and they will put on the that on plate, and they will hit it, or otherwise they will knead it with some instrument, and they will make it chapati. See, this making this chapati by kneading it, by applying compressive force and enlarging, is called as a malleability. And pulling it and making it a bigger size, that is called as a ductility. Okay now, but in both the cases the nature is same. What you are doing in the both cases? Both cases you are extending the area. Okay, and this will happen only when the material is ductile. Okay. Now the next term, what is very important is brittle material. As I told, brittle material is what? It is a material in which exhibits relatively small extension to fracture, so that partially plastic region of the tensile test graph is much reduced. See, this will not continue here. It is broken here only. This is there is a little or no necking at fracture for brittle material. Typical tensile test curve for the brittle material could well look like one shown in the adjoining figure. Best example for your brittle material is what? Chalk piece. Take the chalk piece and bend it. When you bend it, it will suddenly break. It will not you will not absorb the bent shape. It will suddenly break it. Means that is the, which one it is? That is a brittle material. See, HYSD bars are there. HYSD bars are more brittle than the mild steel. Mild steel you can bend it into any shape, but HYSD bar, if you bend it more than the desired, or when you rotate it when you twist it then it will break down. Best example for brittle is your blade. Okay, shaving blade will be there. That shaving blade, you just 90 degree you bent it. When you bend that one, then it will cut. It will cut. That is and jaw wire. Jaw wires are there. They will use in a construction purpose. Jaw wires. They are somewhat very brittle in nature. Okay, these are brittle materials. Next, very important term here is lateral strain. Lateral strain. See, longitudinal strain means you already learned that one. If this is the body and this is the axis and this is the length. Okay, along the lengthwise if I apply some force, this will extend its area, length. This length is extended. But along with that extension, we will observe one more thing, that is reduction in the other direction. See, it is extended like this, and but in other direction it is reduced. Actually, it was this much breadth, but it is reduced to this much. Means this perpendicular direction, whatever the reduction in area, reduction in dimensions you are seeing, that is lateral dimensions. Lateral dimensions. One thing, this is a longitudinal dimension. Why? Because along the length it is there, and this is the lateral dimension. And the strain corresponding to longitudinal direction is called as a longitudinal strain, and the strain corresponding to lateral direction is called as lateral strain. Okay. Now the Poisson's ratio will come. Poisson is again the scientist's name. He defined that Poisson's ratio defined as a mu. Some textbook they will define it as a nu. Some textbook they will write it as a 1 by m. But I will use the word mu only. Mu, that Poisson's ratio, is lateral strain to the linear strain. Linear strain or longitudinal strain. This ratio for a particular material is constant. That what Poisson's ratio says. Understood? Some examples you can note down, that Poisson's ratio for rigid material is 0. Means there you won't observe any lateral or otherwise longitudinal reductions because it is rigid. Okay, now then Poisson's ratio for steel is 0.25. Poisson's ratio for water is 0.5. Okay, and one more thing, and Poisson's ratio for soil is 0.3235. 0.3235. For concrete is Poisson's ratio for concrete is 0.2 to 0.35. Okay, now means from this what you are getting here is 0.2 to 25, I think. From this what you are getting is for all engineering materials, for all engineering materials, the Poisson's ratio varies between 0 to 0.5 only. Some examples are there whose Poisson's ratio may be more than 0.5. Some examples are there whose Poisson's ratio may be negative in nature. But for engineering materials which we are dealing in construction activities, they will have either 0 or 0.5 as a Poisson's ratio. Okay, now this is very important. That is a range for the Poisson's ratio. And isotropic material. And for this is isotropic material. The meaning of isotropic homogeneous I will explain in the later classes. Okay. Thank you very much. In the next class onwards we will solve few problems. Until now whatever we covered, based on that we will solve few problems. Thank you.